See me?
I can hear you.
I hear more music than anything else.
Yeah, we'll shut that off here now.
There we go.
There we go.
I had to download the app.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Boy, it got cold out.
Oh, quick, too. I left that machine in the front yard. I figured before I get up and leave tomorrow morning, I'll go out and see if it starts. Because if it don't start when it's ice cold out, I just wasted a bunch of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I came out to the boathouse, started a fire. I still got a chill from just being outside today, and I just can't get rid of
Yeah.
it.
We're on the ice today?
Yeah, I went and drilled a bunch of holes and found some bluegills and got off the big lake today. So
Nice.
yeah, and surprisingly, the ice out here is probably even a little bit better than what Huygen is. Um, it's just, you got that pucker effect because everything is gin clear,
Yeah, I don't
and
like
you
that.
can't tell how thick that ice is
Right.
unless you drill. And then I took the UTV out on one of the lakes, and there's a couple of guys that had ATVs parked along the edge. And I
Yeah.
just drove right by them, and they're all freaking out, like, "Oh my God, we're gonna go in!" I'm like,
Oh,
guys, 8 inches of hard clear ice like this, probably support a truck. To be honest with you,
well,
your little
right. But when
ATV.
that ice talks when you're driving past, you don't usually see it because it's
Oh, the
underneath
ice
the
was,
snow.
yeah, and the ice was singing today with how
Sure.
cold it was, and that sun came out a little bit, and she was popping pretty good.
Right. So those guys are probably freaking out watching those cracks come under their feet.
Oh yeah.
That makes a world of difference.
Surprisingly, though, I mean, driving that big machine around, ice really was not cracking with me driving. I mean, I was watching and kind of listening at the same time, and it really didn't move.
Yeah,
There
but
was,
you get a lot of displacement with that vehicle.
right.
Even
That's exactly it.
even truck tires or car tires are is a very sharp area, and that's why that tends to crack so much. Your displacement with those huge tracks, that's you have a lot of weight displacement there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it is 8 o'clock, and it is Wednesday night, and we are live in the boathouse. I got my good buddy Ray Tiffany with me. For all the Watoma High School guys that are joining in, this will be one of our other fishermen coaches that will be helping us here. So everybody wave to Ray. Hi, Ray. Um, he can't see you, but we can definitely see your chat. So if you guys have any questions, just submit something, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know. There's like 5 different platforms that this thing's broadcasting live. If you type something in the comments, we will see it, and we can answer you. So there's no such thing as a stupid question. Please ask away, and we can ramble all night long, but it's always good to ask questions that you guys have. It just makes it a little bit easier for us. But it is New Year. I hope everybody had a good Christmas and Happy New Year and all that other kind of good stuff. We were fortunate enough to be able to spend a lot of time with family, and I did get out fishing quite a bit. The rain and everything over the weekend right after Christmas really sucked, put a damper on things, had to cancel some trips, and just made the ice sketchy at best. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit too, as far as what's happening um, out on the ice. But things are shaping up pretty good. I thought we would be a lot further along than what we are. It's been really cold. We don't have any snow. It's just perfect ice making weather, short of some wind. We have had a lot of wind. But typically, once things, ice over and you get that big, cap, That wind actually helps, make that ice thicker quicker because it draws a lot of that moisture up through the ice and just kind of drives that ice down deep. But it just hasn't happened. There's still a lot of open water on Poygan and in spots that I've never seen it, and I don't understand what's causing it. We've been talking to a lot of different guys and trying to just brainstorm. I get nobody really knows for a fact, but I will say this is that years for the last 23 years I've kind of been keeping diaries and logs of stuff. Every year we have had a dry summer or some sort of a drought. In the wintertime, the springs are very active on Lake Poygan. I don't know why, but that's the only thing that I can conclude or come up with is that, again, we had a really dry summer. And granted, we got a lot of rain and stuff in fall again, but, just kind of putting two and two together, all those springs on Poygan are pretty active. There's, right off of the landing over by the county park, just west of Nofke's there, you go out about 200 yards and there is a giant open spot. They've already fished a few guys out of there. If you keep going kind of on that same contour line on that south shoreline of Poygan and just take that, go out 200 yards from the south shore and follow that contour line all the way to the west end towards Captain's Cove. And there's sketchy open spots pretty much that whole way down. And then once you get out in front of like the pine and the pumpkin seed and the willow, there are some little sketchy areas. And then the normal springs that are over by Indian Point and kind of off of the Badger Landing over on the far west end. There's a couple springs over there that are working pretty good. And then again over by Indian Point where the well is, if people don't know, there's an artesian well that's over there below the surface. And that was working as well. And then east of Nofke's, when you get out in front of Spruce, those springs, same place that John, our friend, went in last year, and a few guys went in already this year. Just the other day, was it Monday, I think, a guy went in with a John Deere Gator, drove right into the open water off of Spruce. So just, if you guys don't know the lake, don't be going out in the dark, especially right now. It is fairly easy to see the open water. I mean, that makes it pretty easy to find those spots. But the spots that are just starting to skim over, the ice right now, it really is the pucker factor. As Ray and I were just talking, the lakes over in Waushara, Wapaka County are gin clear. So that ice is like looking through a bottle of water. You can't tell how thick it is unless you drill a hole. Because even the air bubbles are, suspended in the ice. And I was walking over some areas and it's like, man, this only looks like 2 or 3 inches thick. And then you drill a hole and it's, 8 to 10. So when you're driving on top of that super clear ice, it really makes you think. But the way I look at it is if I'm driving, I'm doing a couple different things. I'm driving slow and keep an eye in front of you. Because if you get into a bad area, what's going to happen? You will see it. Trust me, I've done this numerous times with my snowmobile, not by choice, but you will see the wave as you drive forward. And if you're coming up on thin ice, it pushes all the water, and you'll actually see the ice start to make a wave. If that happens, stop and either get out of your machine or off your machine, or back up really quick and go right back to where you came from, because what's ahead is not good. Right. So we're constantly watching. And the other thing, too, is you'll start to see, if you're coming into some bad ice, you'll start to see the ice kind of start spider cracking and that. Right now, it's easy to kind of watch because there's no snow on the ice. Once we get snow on the ice, then you really have to go out and check and make sure you're driving on good, safe stuff. But overall, things are really setting up nice, short of these open spots on Poygan. And who knows if those will even freeze. It's been really cold, and tonight is getting down, I think, to like 4 degrees and no wind. So I'll be curious to see if any of these spots locked up tomorrow. And hopefully, if they lock up, maybe they'll start building some ice too. So it's a crazy year. We got a good start. We got one question already. Daniel says, I recently purchased an ATV for fishing, but I have next to zero experience on navigating ice on water as big as the Bago system. After seeing your post about clear ice and cracks, I'm even more gun shy about going out on the Bago system. I'm being overly cautious, or as long as go. I've only been on smaller lakes. So, again, Daniel, it's really about knowing the system. The Winnebago system is tricky because it's a river system, and you want to stay away from the key areas or the obvious points. And what I can do is I'll make a map and upload it just so people kind of have a reference. But on Poigan, there are a series of springs kind of all around the lake, and they're really active this year. And there's a lot of open water spots, and guys are literally just driving into open water. It's like they don't even see it, and next thing you know, they're swimming. But if you're going out on Winnebago, I did see the report today, and I've got a report here from Frank over on the East Shore. It seems to be that Winnebago is, setting up to be some of the best ice we've had in, a decade. It's flat. It's clear. There's no cracks, which scares me because when that lake decides to pop, it's been so cold, and what happens is the ice builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and pretty soon it's got to pop. It just can't keep building. And when you're out there when that happens, you'll know it because it's like a 7 or an 8.0 on the Richter scale as far as earthquakes go. You will be moving. It's happened, Ray's, I'm sure, experienced it. Anybody that spent a lot of time on big water has experienced an ice quake, and that's my biggest fear. Is this stuff is building fast, and it's building, nice and solid, clear. But the first warm day we have this weekend, you get up into the 30s, and that ice is going to want to expand, and she is going to pop. And just be prepared. I've been out on Winnebago in the past where she's opened up, after a big cold front and stuff lets loose, and next thing you know, you're trying to figure out how to cross a 100-yard swath of open water.
Right.
So just be prepared when that happens. As far as being overly cautious, I don't think there's such thing. I mean, you have to be confident in what you do, but you also have to be cautious in what you do. Being overly cautious, I don't think is ever a bad thing, especially when it comes time to ice fishing. Use a spud bar, follow somebody or go out with somebody. I always have a flotation device, just a throwable with a long rope. That way there, one, if I see somebody, I can throw it to them, or two, if I go down and I can't get out, somebody's around, I can throw them the rope and hold on to the flotation device. Obviously, we have our float suits. We make sure you got your picks around your neck or in your pockets, someplace accessible to get to, and just be smart about it. Really, that's all it is. If it doesn't look good and your gut's telling you it doesn't look good, don't do it. I mean, that's the easiest thing to tell anybody is if you're not feeling it, back away, and walking is good for the soul too. So hopefully that answered your question, and good luck out there and be safe, man. That's really it.
Yeah, cautiousness. Being cautious never killed anybody. It's complacency that kills.
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got some more. Tim says he dropped my truck in at the well 8 years ago during Battle on Bag. Oh, yes, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you get across the crack yet out from Nofke's? Let's see. It keeps cutting in and out every couple seconds. Is anybody else experiencing the cutting out? If you are, please let me know. Everything looks to be, I can kind of monitor. There's a monitor here that shows the live stream part of it, and everything seems to be going good. So maybe it's on your end. I don't know. So, whatever, Finding, I think is your name if you're Not hearing me, I apologize, but is everybody else able to hear? Please let me know. As far as getting across a crack from Nofke's, I did post a waypoint on my page with the video in the comments section on where a guy can easily cross. You do have to go west a little bit, but I'm sure now these last couple days is again have been cold. It's probably locked up and started to heal a little bit. I'll be out tomorrow. I did not go out to Poigan today, so I can't answer how the crack was today. So, again, just, be cautious. But I'll definitely let everybody know, know what it's like tomorrow. Let's see. Chris, do me a favor. Text me. I apologize for anybody that is watching. Right now, on pretty much any given day, I'm getting about 30 to 40 messages on Facebook and about 40 text messages a day from people. So if I don't answer, it's not because I'm not ignoring you. I'm just, stuff gets lost. If any, I wish I could just show my phone or have a secretary take care of my phone for a day, because between, all the sales stuff that I work with and then the fishing guys and everything else, I'm getting just inundated with phone calls and messages. So my apologies if I didn't get back to you, but yeah, I can get you out on Sunday for sure. Just give me a call or shoot me a text message or a private message on Facebook, and I'll respond here after I'm done. All right, so Ray is he's a stick. He's been in this industry a long time. He's got a lot of the same acquaintances as myself. Used to be a tournament angler and do a lot of the NAIFC stuff, right?
Yeah, NAIC, WIFL, all of it. Ultimate Panfish
Yeah.
League, the UPL.
So he knows his way around an ice hole, and he's going to be a great asset to have working with the high school team. We are officially, or Watoma officially has a high school fishing team. The first meeting, I believe, is tomorrow at Watoma High School, and then our first outing will be on January 20th. So if anybody's also interested in helping out with the kids, get a hold of me. All the help we can get never hurts. And we'll be doing some outings. And then they do have the state tournaments later on, or I think it's mid-February over in La Crosse. And hopefully we can get them some fish and they can qualify to go to state. It'd be pretty neat to see all these kids succeed and do well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fisher says Ray's a rookie. So Ray, I guess what do you have going on? You're building some track machines right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I haven't been on the ice yet. Just can't get my hands off the welder. Building some track sleds. And saw I sent you the video. Took it for a trial run today, and she boogied my 200+ pound butt around the yard. So I'm guessing it'll pull me in a sled. But just trying to get prepped and prepared. I don't know some of these systems as well as you do, and I don't like clear ice with no snow to use as a color indicator or a shade indicator of what's bad and what's good. So unless I'm walking in your boot prints, I'm pretty much staying back for a while yet.
Yeah, today I hit all the Washera lakes that I'd like to fish, and did a lot of drilling, just kind of checking ice. Didn't really fish much. Just wanted to check and see how the ice was progressing around here. With how clear it is, it's easy to see and mark. And I'd say the average is probably about that 8-inch. I did find some 10-inch. There were some 6-inch stuff, but it is gin clear, rock hard ice. When you get that good ice, you can even tell when you drill through it. If you find a patch of white ice out on Poigan and you drill through that, it's literally like drilling through snow. There's just no solidity to it. Auger doesn't bog down, it just goes right through. And then you go hit that clear ice, and you start drilling, and that auger bites, and it's putting some torque on, and it's really having to work to drill. That's when you know you got good hard ice,
Sure.
and that's the stuff we want. And for the most part, all these lakes, even Winnebago and Poygan, the lakes are sitting really nice. We just need another good week or two of some super cold, and then it can snow all at once, and we'll have finally a good winter. I know Don from Sunk was even saying possibly, a week and a half from now, if it stays like this, they would consider putting out the vehicle bridges. So,
Wow.
be nice to be able to drive around on Winnebago and not beat the snot out of you like driving on the moon, because that's pretty much
Right.
how it's been the last couple of years.
Those lakes around us, Troy, have got to be difficult. They're gin clear, and then you have gin clear ice on top of that. Every move you make, the fish can see what's going on.
Oh,
It
big
makes
time.
fishing hard on these lakes around here.
Yeah, that's really the main reason why we want snow. I mean, we've
Right.
got vehicles to get around on the ice. As far as that track vehicle or the tracks on the UTV now, that thing does very well on glare ice as far as even just having traction. It doesn't like to turn real well, and we were doing a little Tokyo drifting here the other day, pulling the shacks, but the boys had a pretty good ride on the way back in.
Nice.
The fact that you're fishing, it doesn't matter on these lakes out here if it's 6 feet or 20 feet, you can see the same.
Right.
And when you've got that clear ice, no snow on top, everything you do is like underneath a magnifying scope or a magnifying glass for those fish, because they're looking up and they're seeing everything. So these fish are just freaked out. So it makes fishing very difficult. Poygan, this is going to be a year for tip-up fishing, because the jig fishing, even sitting inside a shack, you're making noise. All that noise is being transferred down through your floor, your runners, or whatever onto the ice, and you'd be surprised at how much noise that makes. And I just know, yesterday's group of guys, everything came on tip-ups. We couldn't get fish. Just watching them on live scope too, they'd come in and any little bit of noise and boom, they'd be gone. They're just freaked out, and you just have to set your tip-ups away from the shacks and and fish that way. We definitely need some snow, even just a couple inches to get rid of the visibility factor is going to be huge.
You got to pull out the OG tricks with that, Troy, and tarp that sucker. Get some tarps out there. That's how we do it with clear water, clear ice.
So if you can, we got lucky yesterday. We kept drilling and found some fish, and there was actually a swath of white ice that we parked the shack on, and then we put the tip ups on that as well. And I think we did way better than everybody else, because I was watching everybody around us and never seen a fish caught, and we ended up having a limit of walleye. So
Nice.
there's something to that. I mean, you can't call it coincidence when you have 6, 8 guys around you, nobody's getting anything, and you're the only people catching fish because you're on an area that doesn't have any visibility.
Right.
You still, the noise thing is still a deal, but if you got your tip ups and your stuff spread out over the top of that white ice, and those fish aren't seeing anything, I think there's something to why we were catching fish and nobody else wasn't. Let's see. What do you recommend for people who don't use electronics when it comes time or comes to finding fish and catching fish? Ooh, Kyle,
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
Huygens going to be a hard one for that.
I don't
Only
know how
because
we caught fish 20 years ago.
I can feel I like felt a pain in my heart from that question, just with my history on Poygan, back in the day. That's a hard one to crack.
That is. It's not even so much the finding fish is one thing. You can chase people around all day long,
Right.
and they do. I mean, even yesterday, guys were following us around, all day long, and The biggest thing I can tell you is, without electronics, you're really handicapped. Not so much because of the finding aspect, but when we're fishing these fish, short of just setting out tip ups, if you're a jig fisherman, you want to try and figure out how to catch these walleyes and white bass, crappies, even bluegills. It's a game of cat and mouse, and if you can't tell and watch how these fish react to what you're doing, you're fishing blind. I mean, like prime example today. One of the reasons why I really didn't fish is I forgot to charge my shuttle last night, and I had electronics with me, but they were dead. And when I don't have any electronics, Troy doesn't fish. I just go and drill holes because I can't fish blind anymore. And I'm probably speaking for the majority of people, unless you can sight fish in 2, 3, 4 feet of water.
Right.
But when we're out fishing over 20 feet, 30 feet, without electronics, yeah, I'm sure we could do it, but it's difficult. It really is. Kyle, my suggestion for you is watch Marketplace, bud. There are so many locators. All you need is a cheap flasher. The Markham M1s, or I even hate to say it, but there's a lot of old Vexlars FL8s out there that you can find for 75 to $100 typically. Buy it. It'll be the best thing that you can possibly do. Figure out a way, sell your sister or whatever, to get yourself a flasher at least. You don't need 360, you don't need Mega Live or Live Scope or any of that kind of stuff. But having a flasher is, one of the most important tools when it comes time to fishing. Period.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's the flasher comes first, but you could do equally well with just a cheap camera.
Yeah. Yeah, the only problem with cameras, and I tell this to guys, is, the lakes out by us, Waushara County, Wapaka County, great, water's really clear. But you
Sure.
get into Winnebago and Poygan or some of the stained waters, up in northern Wisconsin, and now your visibility is pretty limited to, a foot or, a couple feet at most sometimes.
Sure.
Whereas a flasher, you can see, doesn't matter if it's nighttime, daytime, cloudy water, clear water, it always works.
Right.
Let's see. Ethan asks, what do you like using or on your tip-ups for walleye? Emerald shiner, golden shiner, fathead. What's your go-to minnow for walleye? Ethan, for the most part, if you can get away with fatheads, large fatheads, those seem to be, the cure-all, I think, for everything. I do very well on the Winnebago system with emerald shiners. They have a little bit more flash, and it's more of a natural bait for them. When I start drilling holes on Bago or Poygan, and I'm starting to see bait, I really pay attention to the bait side of things. And a lot of times on Poygan, you'll drill a hole, and you'll already have shiners swimming up the hole if you're in the right area. And if that's the case, match the hatch. I mean, that's rule number one with fishing is match the hatch. Whatever they're eating, put down what they're eating, and you will catch fish. But the fatheads, they work. And there's many different ways to fish them. If the bite's really slow, you can cut their tails. So that thing just sits down there and kind of quivers. We've talked about tip-up fishing quite a bit on here, and there's a lot of really great things. The small things that kind of make the difference. And pay attention if you're catching a fish on one tip-up. There's a reason why that's typically happening. And it can be as simple as, your sinker from your hook. You got your treble hook, and we use number 20 trebles. And then your sinker height from there can play a big role on the bite. If those fish aren't chasing, I want to keep my sinker as close to that minnow as possible so that thing can't move around very much. If the fish want to chase and they're looking to be pretty active, I'm going to raise my sinker up a long ways because now that minnow can go all over the place and attract fish that maybe are up a little bit higher, but they're able to swim away, and sometimes those walleyes want to chase their food. So those are all the small things that you really want to pay attention to. And then again, too, I run light line, small trebles, number 20 trebles. We're running 6-pound fluorocarbon leaders, just play around. There's no rhyme or reason or magic answer to any of that. It's all I put. It's day to day. When you find something that works, that's when you go and copy everything on all your other tip-ups, and everything should work at that point.
You got to be real delicate with how you're fighting your fish when you're using that light stuff. That's for sure.
Yes. So one of the biggest things, and we experienced it yesterday too. We had a giant walleye on, and I seen it come up to the hole, and the guy was doing pretty good. And everybody always does good while I'm coaching. It's okay. Let the line go through your fingers. Just hold it real lightly and let it go. And you just want to keep just a little bit of tension on it so the line's tight. And then you'll fight him again. And a big walleye or a big pike, they're going to come up to the hole, typically 3 or 4 times before you can finally get their head turned up and finally try and get down and try and get a grasp on them. Yesterday, the guy did very well. And it's always that last time that the fish comes in and you're getting so close to getting ready to grab it, and then it takes off. And everybody's first reaction is like, and they hold on to it and ding, gone.
Yep.
Every time. I preach it and repeat myself 100 times. I'm like, just let them go, let them go, let them go, let them go. And as soon as they get up and the fish started to take off, he pinched the line and broke the line on the hook, and I watched her swim away. It was, mid to upper 20s fish, a really, really nice fish. And oh well, we seen it, and we would have had to put it back anyway, but it sure would have been nice to get a picture.
Sure.
Let's see here. We got some other questions. Luke says, how do you feel about the crappie population on the Winnebago chain in 25? This always seems to change, but you don't typically hear of people getting numbers of them through the ice. Luke, that's a really hard fish to catch on the Winnebago system. If you're familiar with like Upper Red Lake, that used to be a crappie mecca too, and crappies cycle. And right now, I think the crappie population's kind of down a little bit, if I remember right, reading through the trawling and some of the numbers that the DNR puts out. But crappies are another roaming fish. They just roam out over the tops of the basins. And what's nice about a small lake up north, or over here in Wapaka with Sheriff counties, is you just find the deepest spot in the bowl of the lake. You go set up, and if you got electronics, great. Drill a bunch of holes or use your electronics. Find that school that's they always suspend, and you'll always find that school over the absolute deepest part of the water. But on a Winnebago, you got a
146 square miles.
You got a 20-foot flat that runs 40 miles one way and
Right.
9 miles across. Throw a dart, man. I mean, that's really all you can do. Now, that being said, there are some areas that are typically known to hold the crappies, and that's typically around like Garlic Island, the islands down south by Fond du Lac. If you can find some deeper weeds down by Fond du Lac, or some of the artificial spawning reefs over down on the southeast side of the lake, and then again up by like Asylum and Cowlings, kind of in between the points on those deeper edges, is where most of the guys will find the crappies.
Right.
The crappies and the bluegills on the Winnebago system. I grew up on the lake. I fished it my whole life, and it is a very hard system to find them outside of their key, harvest times. Springtime, easy, right? Fish them in the channels, in the weeds, in the shallows, no problem. First ice, kind of in the same spot they are in the springtime. They're in the shallows, in the weeds, in some of the channels. And as soon as they migrate out of there, see you later. I mean, those things are, they could be Fond du Lac to High Cliff to Nina Menasha or Oshkosh. I mean, really, there's so much natural food out there. And the sturgeon guys, and I've done this before, even trying to find, spots to fish for walleyes and perch, is take yourself or get yourself a 20-foot or 24-foot section of PVC and just go start drilling holes and start shoving those PVC pipes in the mud and looking for redworms. If you bring up a little section of mud, dump it out on the ice, and you see a bunch of redworms, good chance there's going to be some perch or some bluegills or crappies or something around. And then typically the walleyes are going to feed on the small fish, and everything just kind of follows suit. So there are things you can do, but really on that big lake, it's like throwing darts, man. It's so hard to target.
Yeah, Poigan's not much different, but if you do get one, it's going to be a substantial fish. They're going to be nice crappies.
Yep. And there are times that, you get into them. I mean, I can remember years on Winnebago, in between the points at Asylum or over by Garlic, that, you just absolutely laid into them thick and, pound and, 13, 14-inch crappies. Just big fish. And it's just so hard to target. It'd be one thing if we had some really deep, cabbage or, some good weed edges that these fish would relate to, but we really don't have that on Winnebago.
Right.
And, it's just kind of one of those fish that, just like Upper Red, those used to be just a ton of crappies up there, and you'd get them right along with the walleyes. I mean, it was just kind of one of those things, and no different here on the Winnebago system.
Right.
Jeff has got a question here. Hey, Boot Nazi, with the way our weather has been, do you think the lawyers would be shallow or deeper away from the rocks right now since it's early? You know what? I'm going to send this one over to my buddy Ray. He is kind of turned into the Burbot Nazi.
What was the question again? Read it again.
It says, with the way our weather has been, do you think the lawyers would be shallow or deeper away from the rocks right now since it's early?
Right now, I would hit east side of Winnebago and hit the deep rock edge on the east side of Winnebago. Those burbot should be cruising that rock edge in that deep water. They won't come up shallow unless they absolutely have to. And that's usually during the spawn. You'll find them out in the basins right now cruising along, but I always try to relate burbot fishing with structure because they're looking for food, right? And they're just garbage disposals when it comes to eating. So that east shoreline over was that Chilton over there, Brothertown, with the deep rocks. I think that rock edge is like 20 feet, isn't it, Troy?
The rocks over on the east shore typically end about 16 or so.
Sure. And then hit that anywhere from right directly on that rock edge out, maybe 30, 40 yards. They will swim up and down that rock edge looking for food. That's where I would target burbot right now.
Nice. And then if you need a good lawyer, shoot me a message. I got some names and numbers. They're all slimy. Let's see. I guess, yeah, Tim, it is a little early yet. Doesn't mean you can't catch them though.
No.
If you target them, they're just cruising, deeper rocks. The nice thing about down south is like over by Abrams and some of those deeper artificial rock humps that are in the middle of the lake, in the middle of nowhere. I'm pretty certain if you had those on your GPS, you could go set up there and put some tip ups out or something, and I'm pretty certain you'd catch them right now.
Sure. It's just you know, when burbot fishing on Winnebago always correlates to the spawn, right? And that's when it's the hottest and the heaviest. But you can get them year round. You just they have to look in the right spots, right? And earlier in the year to mid ice, they're going to be deep. And they're going to be, you know, correlating to some structure out there somewhere. It just takes time. Make as much noise as you can down there, and see if you can call some in. If you can't, move on and try a different area.
Do you stick your head in the hole and yell at them?
Just
Yeah.
that's what Tiffany's for. Just hold her by her ankles.
Oh yes, I wanna record that. Let's see. Dante says, on top of what Ray said, I'd be looking for lawyers to start coming in shallow the next 2 weeks or so. Shallow rock flats, etc. Yeah, it's still pretty early. Typically the spawn starts, that's right around second week of February,
Right.
and goes through the end of the month. End of February typically is when it, the peak always has been. And what's going to be awesome this year is, getting out to those rocks is going to be, looks like a piece of
Great.
cake compared to the last few years. It's been just a gong show trying to get out to the sturgeon areas.
Last year was bad.
I mean, I haven't even taken people out because of the safety factor. I mean,
Right.
sure, to go out and do it by ourselves and whatnot's one thing, but to haul people and gear out there, the last couple of years with the ice conditions around those rocks is no bueno. And just for people that are interested in kind of looking at it, one of the things with the lakes, doesn't matter where you go, whether it's up north, around here, any place you have rocks underneath the ice, especially in shallower areas, that ice is going to melt from the bottom up when that sun starts heating up.
Right.
And we're past the the winter solstice now, so now our days are going to start getting longer. That sun's going to be up higher. It's going to be out longer. And as we get into February and March, those shallow rock areas get dangerous, and people go swimming every year because they're just unfamiliar with those shallow points. And if you are driving around on on those reefs and stuff down by Fond du Lac, just be super cautious because you hit a soft spot, or watch your GPS, kind of stay off of those 2 foot humps, those really shallow humps, because that stuff is melting really fast from the bottom up, and you're not going to see it. You're just going to feel it, and then you're going to be stuck.
Yeah. The least amount of snow that we have, the worse that'll be too.
Yep. Yeah, you wouldn't think that the ice would melt even with snow cover. You wouldn't think that stuff melts from the bottom up, but for some reason that heat radiates, and those rocks start absorbing heat, and then all that warm water coming off those rocks comes up to the bottom of the ice and starts eating the ice away, and then somebody finds it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Tim says opening weekend of spearing is typically when I start seeing big numbers of them in the shallows. Correct. So opening weekend of spearing is always around Valentine's. It's always Valentine's weekend.
Right.
Watch out by Wentz between the islands. I dropped a truck 2 years back. Yeah. That's a dangerous place to drive around. It's just because of those shallow rocks. Key areas doesn't, again, as long as we're talking ice safety here, whether you're on a lake up in northern Minnesota or northern Wisconsin or down in southern, it does not matter. Rock piles are going to heat up. Other areas to stay away from is if you have lakes that have narrows and then kind of open back up, those narrows, there is current running through there. Those are never going to be good spots. Just the other day, over in Westfield on Lawrence Lake, now granted that has a lot of springs on it, but where the lake necks down, where the narrow part is, there's current going through there, and the guy dropped his machine in and did not make it out. So it just goes to show, again, ice is never safe, but you have to be smart and you have to know the areas and what to look out for, what not to go around, and rock points, shallow points, narrowing, sections. And then obviously, if you know the lake has springs, be super cautious or just don't even go out. I'll never forget one of the first times I ever fished. What's that lake, Ray, down by the NAIFC down? They always had a tournament down there.
Which one? Delavan, Fox Lake?
To the west of Fox Lake.
Beaver Dam?
Keep going west.
Oh, you're talking about what is the name of that lake? I know it. Redstone.
Redstone, yes. So I had a Dodge Dakota at the time, and I went down there first time I ever fished the lake. Didn't have any idea, and I'm driving, and I parked my truck, and all these people are pointing at me. I'm like, nobody knows me, and they're all watching me and pointing at me and waving at me, and I'm waving back and just being a nice guy. And I go in to open up the back of my truck and grab my auger, fire it up. I drill a hole and made about 3 revolutions, and it was through the ice. I'm like, oh, okay. Back to the truck I went and just put it in reverse.
When they're doing that, waving. Troy, that's not waving. That has never been waving. Okay, that is a universal symbol for something is wrong.
Well, I was lucky enough to make it back off, but I was in an area that had a bunch of springs and did not know it. So again, familiarity. Now this is way before internet days or anything like that. That's how old we are, and it's definitely opened my eyes and really, take as much caution as you possibly can. If you don't know the lake, don't go out, without any bit of knowledge. Talk to bait shops or locals or whatever, but don't just go off and do your own thing because it's probably not going to end well. Tim asks, what do you think is keeping those pockets on Poygan open on Poygan, especially when out County Landing? That pocket is huge. Tim, I don't know, man. We were talking about that before. The only thing I can think of, a couple different things, is, they put those rock piles in a few years ago out on Poygan. And I do have to believe that has something to do with it. There are, 4, 5, I think 5 or 6 rock piles that run from just out from County Landing all the way towards the Hindenburg line along that contour, that south contour. And, I don't know if it's because of all that rain we had. You do have current come from the pine, the willow, the pumpkin seed that flows down on that south contour. If you look at a map of Poygan, those contour lines, there's current that flows along that, that edge there and hits the Wolf River before it gets into the Hindenburg line and then obviously goes to Winneconne. And I don't know if that's causing some of it. I don't know if there's a spring that opened up or popped up there. But that whole south shore along that 6-foot contour line is open or has open spots from County Landing all the way to Captain's Cove. It's not just that one area, and runs east of Nofke's, where the springs are, in front of Spruce Lane and all the way down that way too. So I don't know if those rock piles are causing some of that disturbance in water and the current. Is keeping it open. I have no idea. I really would like to know. I'd like to talk to somebody that would have some better insight on that because I've never seen it open there before. As long as I can ever remember fishing that lake, it's never been that big. And where that spot is at, it would be really nice to get some snow so people can see that. Because the other day, that guy that went in with his snowmobile, he never seen it. He just drove right into it. And by the time he realized he was in open water, it was too late. One of the reasons why we run snowmobiles is, when in doubt, power out. And Ray got to experience that, I think, once now too, is, just give her some goose and, get on top of that water and get the heck out of there.
Yeah, coincidentally, that happened last year on Winnebago during burbot fishing.
So Don't know, Tim. I mean, it's kind of freaky, and not only is that spot open, but again, there's a couple more spots to the west that are open. The spot over by Indian Point actually healed up. There was about 4 or 5 inches on that fresh ice on Monday, so that's a good sign that's finally starting to heal. And the spots to the east over by Spruce, those were still open as well. So don't know. I don't have any answers as to why those spots are staying open.
Troy, is
We'll
anybody
find
at
out.
any time going to stake that off? Maybe put up some caution tape or something just to make it a little more visible.
I don't think anybody's really gotten close to it. What I can do, and I thought about doing this, is just flying my drone around the perimeter and creating a map, with a trail, and then overlaying that onto the satellite imagery or onto the lake map,
Right.
so people kind of know. Because once we get snow too, and if this stuff caps over, those are going to be weak spots the whole rest of the year, and you just
Right.
kind of want to stay away from those spots. Period. So make a mental note now. Put if you're out there, you got a GPS on your machines. Put some coordinates around where you even think it is, and just don't even go near it. I mean, stay 100 yards off of those spots, and you'll be good. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Just my personal stuff is just putting waypoints in the areas I know are bad, just for future reference, because I don't want to have to worry about that down the road. I'm done driving vehicles now that I got the UTV. My vehicles stay on shore unless we get 2-3 feet of ice, and then we'll make it easy as far as driving goes. But that's why we have the the machines. It's way
Right.
easier to get a machine out than it is a big diesel truck.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Ray, you should go out there and drive.
Yeah, pass. That's gonna be a hard pass.
Yeah, but then you get a new truck, bud.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'd be the one guy that doesn't have a stupidity clause in his insurance, and now I got to try and fish a big dually diesel out of the drink.
Well, just get your track machine out there and some ropes.
Yeah, give her a good yank with that. I could probably get out there and mark that stuff with that thing, as that thing is pretty capable of getting on some pretty thin ice.
Yeah. If it would be nice if we had some snow even too, just to be able to pack some stuff. But I guess worst case scenarios, maybe one day I could drive over there and just walk up next to it and bring some stakes or something and put some stakes in.
Right. If we got snow, it would have to come in small doses, right? It would have to be able to soak into that water so you can still see it. If we get a foot at once of big flakes, it's just going to cover right over top of that, and you're not even going to know it's there anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
That's bad news.
It's gonna be sketchy. I mean, the nice thing is typically what we found, though, is what I've seen is once it does skim over, that new ice will catch up to all the surrounding ice pretty quick.
Right.
It's like drilling a hole. You drill a hole, and that thing is froze solid from top to bottom, and and pretty much a night. So it'll heal. We just need it to skim over, and we don't. Tim even said it's calm tonight, 9 degrees, but boy, last week we had a couple calmer nights. Yeah, it was little windy, but nothing that I would think that would keep that open. It was 0 degrees outside. You would think that even with a little bit of chop or a little bit of wind that would skim over, but it hasn't, and it's going to keep eating people if we don't get a little bit more ice here.
I just practice the buddy system, Troy, and then just make them go first.
Thanks. Who's your buddy? Let's see here. I do have a report from my buddy Frank over on the East Shore. I'll read to you guys. All right, so this is from Frank over on the East Shore. He runs the Fishing the Bago System page on Facebook. He took a ride up the East Shore today after work. Pipe Looked like the club was trying to flood the launch to make it smooth again after the crack opened up and a vehicle tried driving off the launch. Over in Brothertown, the normal, everything looked good, and a few guys were out with ATVs and UTVs. And over in Quinny, the landing is plowed. And they have an ATV, UTV snowmobile bridge out and marked. The crack that it's sitting on looked to be freezing up, but was wide. He'll be heading out of Quinny on Friday. So I do know some guys have been driving trucks actually out of Brothertown, or Calumetville, I believe, is where they went off of. They
No
were
kidding.
out. Yeah, they've been out. Last few days. Some of those tubers. Those tubers are crazies anyway.
Not this guy.
And so they, the ice over on the East Shore has definitely been better the last couple of years than what we've had over here on the West Shore. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because of the current, the river, and all the outflow that we have, or all the inflow, I guess, coming into the lake over on the West Shore, that reduces our ice or doesn't build as fast. Again, I don't know. I mean, in years past, it seemed like the West Shore was always better than what the East Shore was because of the prevailing, west wind would keep that East Shore open or the middle of the lake open, and they'd always get all those big shoves. Once the ice would start to skim over and it'd blow apart, and it all end up over on the East Shore someplace. But hey, we'll take it. We need a good year. We need people to be buying ice fishing stuff and helping all these manufacturers and bait dealers and tackle shops all across the Midwest here are just dying right now because really they haven't had a winter the last 2 winters. So there's a lot of inventory out there, a lot of great deals. If you guys are looking to buy some new ice gear, this is the year to do it. There is a lot of great sale. We're talking hundreds of dollars off of stuff, and great time, great opportunity to buy, and you're helping out the local guys, and not only that, but a lot of the manufacturers are really really looking to drive some sales and clear out some inventory and get a fresh start and get back into some normalcy.
Right.
AJ says, and here's one for the guys that are fishing up by Fremont too. Partridge still has 2 open spots. Again, another super shallow lake that typically by now, you'd be driving trucks on because the freeze is so good and easy. But there's 2 open spots and a big crack out on Partridge. I've never seen that. I mean, that lake is always right with Poygan as far as one of the first ones to freeze, and usually freeze quick enough that guys are typically, that's one of the first lakes guys start driving on. So I don't know what's going on. Mother Nature's got her own agenda, and it was crazy. One of my buddies was, we were texting back and forth and looking at some stuff. The North Pole, the magnetic North Pole, is actually moving south, and by a lot. When you look, I think 1895 is when they started measuring to where it is now, and I mean it's gone hundreds of miles from where its original point was. So the North Pole is moving south, and that could be an explanation as far as why we're starting to see all these crazy weather patterns and stuff too. But who knows, man? I'm not a scientist. Nothing I can change, and nothing I can do about it other than talk about it.
Have you been over by Waiwega at all?
I haven't been over to the Mill Ponds or to White Lake or anything yet. Those are, again, 2 other lakes that usually freeze up pretty good, pretty fast.
They're usually driving on Waiwega by like October.
Yeah, pretty much. So that if anybody has any insight on those 2 ponds, please chime in. I do got to put out thoughts and prayers and to everybody out in California right now. We've got some friends out there. Tried getting a hold of them tonight, but no answer. Those fires, if anybody's hasn't seen what's going on in California, this is biblical, man. This is something I couldn't even imagine. I mean, picture. I guess the easiest way to explain it is go into these huge residential areas, right? Big, monstrous, multi-million dollar houses, and instead of having, a little campfire in the back, picture a blizzard, like what we get here in Wisconsin and all those snowflakes, flying around. But instead of snowflakes,
Embers.
they're all hot coals, embers flying around. There's no way to stop it. When you got 60 to 100-mile-an-hour winds, if you've ever started a campfire and you blow on some coals and realize how quick that starts burning or igniting other sources, now try and control that amongst all these big houses and people that have never been out to California in that part. It's really a desert. I mean, it's super dry, and you've got all this all this brush and stuff that is kindling at best, and one little spark, and you set the whole woods on fire, and it's crazy. I couldn't even. I was watching some of the news today, and in 5 minutes it took. There was a house across the street, and they were broadcasting. The other guy was, he had his hose. He's standing on top of his house with a hose, watering down everything. And the wind was blowing so hard. They were talking about watching the one house burn down, and even the guy with the hose watering his house down, a spark or an ember got onto the guy's house, and in 5 minutes, that house was like completely engulfed in flames. I couldn't even believe how fast that happened. And then at that point, all you can do is gather your whatever you possibly can and get the hell out of Dodge as fast as you can. Just crazy. I couldn't even imagine. Let's see, what do we got? Dante says last week Lake Petenwell was good on ice. Was out Monday and had 11 inches of ice. Was crazy.
He did
Um,
good. His first fish was a giant walleye. He did pretty
ice.
good. I saw that right away and sent him a PM asking for GPS coordinates. Oh, they did real good out there.
How's the bite been, Dante? And anybody else, anybody else has some reports to share? Ice conditions, fishing, and anything. Let's see, Balsam Road Dam. Any concerns yet? Oh, the dam up in Shawano. I don't know, Tim. I just go by what happens in springtime. That the river can fluctuate 4 to 6 feet, and we don't see it on the lakes. You
Right.
might see it up in Shawano, and you might see it. I don't even know if like Partridge Crop or any of that'll really. The lakes don't fluctuate like the river does. We might get some more current or something down by the mouth on Poygan, but we're not going to see an influx, I don't believe, on Poygan or the Bago system. The up and down aspect of what they're talking about, I just can't believe it. I mean, that water in the rivers come up 8 feet and dropped 8 feet over the years, and the lakes don't change, but maybe a couple inches. So I'm not concerned. If something does happen, obviously I'll gladly let you guys know, but I'm not too concerned about what's going on up there. So Ray, if you didn't hear, they had some power for people that don't know what we're talking about. The dam up by Shawano has got some power issues that they're not able to control the water flow. So right now it's pretty much an open floodgate, and the water's cranking down. And they were talking about influx on currents, water levels, and lake levels and such. And
Sure.
again, we never see that on the lakes, even in the springtime when we get all that rain. So you mean the long term? Yeah, maybe it brings Poygan up a couple inches, but it ain't going to be to the point where I think that it's going to affect how our ice is. But
Right.
I'll gladly. I mean, I'll watch. So here's kind of synopsis on Poygan as far as where the ice was. I did drive my side-by-side from Indian Point all the way over to the Duck Inn. I drilled every time I got into an area that I couldn't see any cracks or see the thickness of the ice or what I was looking for. I'd get out and drill, and I'd have typically 8 to 10 inches, all good, solid, clear ice. There are, let's see, one, two. There's 4 spots on the lake, kind of on the north edge of the lake. That's or north edge of the horseshoe. That starts over by Indian Point, or kind of middle of Norwegian Bay, I guess. There's a spot there. There's a spot pretty much straight out from Spruce, or from Nofke's. Another spot by Spruce, and then another spot closer towards the Duck Inn of all that shove ice. I mean, it's like driving on the moon type ice. And all that stuff, too, is all like 8 to 10 inches thick. And then all the clear stuff that it almost looks like you're driving onto open water. All that ice was really good. Again, pretty much 8 to 10 inches. Now, when you are driving on that clear stuff, you will see the bubbles, as I call them, where you'll have a ring of white ice and then a little section of clear ice in the middle. On those spots, those were open spots, or that could have been where a spring was, or maybe some geese or something were keeping it open. But those spots is where I was finding that 5 to 6 inches of ice. Again, nothing that is going to eat a snowmobile or an ATV, but if once guys start driving trucks out, those little tiny areas are the areas that you're going to have to be concerned about. But again, it's super clear, hard ice, and you'd be surprised. Ray was over. I tried breaking through an inch of ice by myself, and I was jumping up and down, and I could not break through an inch. So if you've got a good 5, 6, 7, even 8 inches,
that's plenty.
I'm pretty certain you could drive a truck on it, honestly. Not for long, but if you're driving over the top of it, I don't think you're just going to hit the ice and go down.
You can drive a truck over any ice, Troy, at least once.
Yeah. I mean, look at that guy on Puckway earlier this year driving around on 4 inches. He drove around a long ways before he
long ways. I was amazed how far he made it before he finally went in.
Let's see. A guy had asked, where can I go where I don't have to walk very far, healing up from a slip disc and can't haul my gear? Cowlings Bay, Silent Bay. Let's see. You've got Sawyer Creek and Oshkosh. There's quite a few, pretty easy places to walk from. If you do a little bit of research. But any of those spots, you walk maybe 100 yards and you're fishing.
Yeah, even less than that to get the good perch behind the water treatment plant on Little Lake.
Oh yeah,
Little Lake Butelemore
too is another great spot. You can go park by the water treatment plant there on Little Lake Butelemore, and guys are catching bluegills and perch and some crappies, and set some tip ups out for some pike. It's kind of a crowded spot sometimes, but everybody catches fish. Everybody does well, and the only thing I say about that is whatever you bring in, bring it out, please, because that's one of the biggest areas where I see so much trash and people leaving garbage out on the ice. It bewilders me that people can just do that. I mean, pick up after yourselves. Cripes. Yep. I mean, people wonder why we lose fishing spots and launches and that is because all these idiots bring their garbage out on the ice and just leave it there. Sad. Let's see. Dante says we'll provide both of you with updates Sunday.
What do you mean? I'll be with you.
Put the updates in the Humminbird GPS form so it's easy to transfer, please.
Right. He's driving right past my house on his way out there. He could just pick me up, for crying out loud.
Yeah, use the degree method, not the minutes and seconds. Let's see. How well are the white bass back? Ben, so the couple of times I went and chased white bass I got onto them pretty good. There's some pretty big numbers out on Poigan. I haven't, the last couple times out now, I've just been chasing walleyes. Seeing a couple white bass mixed in, but most of the fish we're on right now is just a big area of walleyes. So really haven't concentrated a lot on the white bass. But it's good
Look,
to see that they're back out.
the year class you're getting in white bass looks pretty good this year.
Oh, they're huge.
Yeah.
The ones that we are catching are giants. And I know, some of my buddies are out on Winnebago too on the East Shore, and they got into a couple of white bass over there. But there just hasn't been a whole lot of guys out fishing yet on Winnebago. Once that starts, I'm pretty certain guys will find some of those bigger schools.
Sure.
First ice, when we first got out on Poigan, oh my God. The amount of white bass we found was, just epic. Kind of goes back to like 10 years ago where just got on top of a school and as fast as we could get baits down, we were ripping them. Dante says, want to?
Absolutely, buddy. You know where my PM is. Friggin', let's go do it up.
Let's see. Jeff says, Troy, I missed the end of the Poigan conversation there on Indian Point to Norwegian Bay. Can I drive an ATV off of Indian Point? Is there a huge crack I got to cross? So right up by shore, the normal crack is there. I did not find a spot to cross that one, but it didn't look, it wasn't big yet. So an ATV, I would say you should be fine. You should be able to find a spot to cross. What I would recommend for you is stay into Norwegian Bay. I wouldn't go out off the tip of the point yet. Give that a couple more days just to be safe. I said there's probably 4 or 5 inches. I was driving on it with my tracks on all that new ice, and it was 4 to 5 inches of clear stuff. I wasn't really seeing much of it crack, but again, I honestly think my UTV displaces more than what the ATVs do.
Absolutely.
You're probably more likely to go in with an ATV than I am with the tracks. So just be cautious, but check it out during the daylight. I wouldn't go out there in the dark and venture around, but I'm pretty certain you could launch at Indian Point and get into Norwegian and go anywhere you want to do from there. Don't go west. Don't go toward from Indian Point to Captain's Cove. If you're unfamiliar with that area, stay away because all those springs are working and open. And if they're not open, they're only got like an inch of ice on them. So I just stay away from that area altogether. Hopefully I can report back, after another week of this cold, and we can, start venturing a little more and getting to that west end and some of the good spots over there. But right now, I'm not even getting close to any of that.
Right.
Let's see. Steph says your Christmas tree is still up. Yeah, my wife hasn't taken it down yet. Hi, babe. She's down in Madison working, so she's probably sitting in her hotel room watching. Let's see. How much does your UTV with tracks weigh? It's probably right about 2,000 pounds. With the tracks, it's 6 passenger, so it's got a long wheelbase. And with the tracks, you just add that much more displacement, big, flat, wide tracks. I drove, there was one spot, that spot over by Indian Point was 4 inches, and I drove on top of it, knowing that, all right, if I can get off, real quick, I just wanted to check and see, and it really didn't even crack. It started popping a little bit, but no sign of any sagging or anything like that. So I felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, you're well over. You're probably pushing 250 square inches of contact with all 4 of those.
Yeah. Yep.
Your displacement's really good with that.
Let's see. Bago has been tough for me anyway. West side, finding fish, get interested, follow, and just drop off. Been that way all year. Time for M80s maybe. Quarter sticks work better. That, or if you can find somebody that has an old, telephone, the crank telephones, and we'll rig that up to a cordless drill and stick a wand down in the water. That does the trick too.
The old night crawler wands.
Yeah. Yep. Well, everybody, let's see. Let's see if there's nobody else has any questions. We will sign off for tonight and be back next Wednesday. For all the kids watching, you guys have my email. And if for some reason, I'm going to try to, I don't know if I can do virtual or not tomorrow for the meeting, but I'll talk to Chief Mott and see if I can't log in and chat with you guys tomorrow as well. But looking forward to meeting everybody and getting out on the ice on the 20th. We will be doing that outing, and maybe Ray can join us, and we'll go out to Poigan and catch some fish. We'll talk more as we get closer to, but really looking forward to it, and should be good. Should be good.
Yeah, it'll be a great time.
That's all I got. Ray, you got anything else?
I don't. Just be safe when you're getting out there. Share your bites, share your ice reports with us. We'd like to get that word out there and just let everybody know what's safe, what's not. Otherwise, good luck, everybody. Be safe out there.
And please share. I mean, people know. I mean, we're not here to get coordinates, right? That's not what we're looking for. But if you're on, a good bite, or just general. Hey, we are getting some bluegills, or we're getting some panfish, 12 feet of water, weed edges. You don't have to tell me the lakes. Just kind of a general synopsis of what you're doing. Post pictures, we like seeing the pictures. And just trying to help everybody out as best we can.
Hey, if they're 10+ inch bluegills, I'll take lakes, coordinates, whatever.
I know Ray will.
I'm all down with sharing like that. Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Troy. I appreciate you. It was fun, man.
Yeah, no problem, Ray. We'll do it again. Again, if anybody else has, you'd like to see somebody on the show, let me know. Shoot me a message. Put it in the comments here. And most everybody in the fishing industry would come on, and friends with pretty much everybody. So if somebody you'd like to pick their brain and chat with, please let me know, and I'll try and get them on. But appreciate everybody tuning in, and good luck. Be safe. Stay dry, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.